She was a people person. And anything she could do for anyone, she would do it.
Nannie Potts, a titan in the classroom, community, and church.
Yeah, she was everything. You know, taught me right from wrong, how to cook, you know, and just respect everybody. And then no matter white, black, and always be kind.
She's the epitome of woman. She was the head of her family.
A change agent, an important piece in Black history. Mrs. Potts made history in 1982 when she became the first woman and only African American to serve as mayor in Cornelius. Today, we're highlighting the woman known as a giant in the struggle for justice, racial equity, and true equality. Mrs. Nannie Potts grew up in Davidson, North Carolina. At a young age, her parents taught her the power of faith, serving, and having a voice.
Her father would drive an old blue truck and would go around in the town of Davidson, Logan, Houston, and he'd drive that truck around and put people on the back of the truck to make sure they voted. So when children see what happens as an example from their parents, they live what they learn. So it was instilled in her as a child growing up.
And she used her voice to make a lasting impact and influence change. After attending Barber Scotia College, Mrs. Potts became an educator. She spent over 30 years teaching in Mecklenburg and Iredell County. Her husband, Gerald, says former students still reminisce about her profound impact.
And some of them now still say, if it hadn't been for her, they would have gone to Iraq, because she helped them, but she straightened them up too.
Mrs. Potts was also an ambassador for education outside of the classroom. During the summer, she led programs to help students in the Smithville community. Family and friends say she was an encourager, and many benefited from her voice.
I was in college, freshman year. I called home and I was like, Grandma, this is too much. I don't think I can do it. All these classes, all this work, is all do at the same time, and I'll never forget it. She told me, she was like, there are 300 other kids there that has to do the same work as you can do. So therefore, you can do it.
As a young child, I had a low self-esteem, and I grew out of some of that. But Nan was the vessel that helped to bring a lot of that out. She encouraged me.
Mrs. Potts used her motivating voice and entered the political field. She served on the Cornelius Town Commission and later became mayor pro tem. But when the mayor stepped down, Mrs. Potts became mayor, etching her name in the city's history books.
It was that voice that was needed at a time where we were changing drastically, where there were no African Americans as elected officials. She was one of the first.
Her win provided a voice for the Black community in Smithville. She served as mayor for a year and decided not to run again, but she returned to her commissioner duties for another decade. And several policymakers sought out her advice for years to come. Mrs. Potts' political career inspires the younger generations in her family.
I want to follow in her footsteps with that. She was very stern in her position as mayor. She wanted things how she wanted things. She was very prestige about things. She was never a back down kind of person. She never backed down from any challenge or anything. So I learned that from her.
Mrs. Potts also made a huge impact within her church community. She attended Torrance Chapel AME Zion in Cornelius, where she served on several committees. She even created a scholarship committee to help send students to school. Last month, the church honored her life and legacy. And because of her contributions in the community, the town of Cornelius honored Mrs. Potts with a street sign in 2020, a road which serves as a connection, just like Mrs. Potts did in her community. Family and friends say they want people to remember her as a leader and speaker of substance.
She saw something that needed to be done. She would go out and try to do it.
For Neighborhood TV, I'm Jessica Willis.